The Golden Gate. Dear Ascending Family, as we are ending cycles within cycles, from the planetary cycle of 26,000 years to the galactic rounds into 208,000 years, we are working hard to recover memory records of what has happened in these cycles. Collecting memory record is a process, somewhat like building a multi-dimensional puzzle with many pieces still missing. Recently, we have picked up a few more pieces, uncovering yet another example of the negative alien agenda manipulation of our time matrix, aimed at preventing us from knowing who we truly are. This is balanced with a new support in the form of activations, bringing new substances in to assist with the healing process. We begin with the transmissions coming through the constellation of Ophiuchus. There is much controversy over Ophiuchus' status as a relevant astrological zodiac sign. However, it is incredibly relevant in the transmission of new frequencies that are occurring as we pass through this 13th ecliptical constellation this month. The ecliptic is the path of the sun's annual motion relative to the constellation of stars. This is the circuit on which the sun progresses through the heavens during its 12-month cycle. The ecliptical path of the zodiac signs are drifting further apart due to the precession of equinoxes. The 12 divisions of the zodiac are created by the natural harmonics occurring through the sun's annual motion. These harmonics reference different realms or consciousness gateways. The ascension cycle is the evolutionary progression available for the incarnate ego personality to develop true soul-spirit consciousness while exposed to these harmonic patterns as they move through the ecliptic. These celestial influences impact the state of human evolutionary unfoldment, supporting the progressive embodiment of our true soul spirit throughout the evolutionary cycles. It also measures our alchemical progress in expanding consciousness throughout time in order to arrive at various opening consciousness gateways. The zodiac structural principles are both energetic and geometric, which are being aligned to the alchemical laws of God, hosted by the crystal star. The Earth's magnetosphere and the solar system's heliosphere are getting exponentially weaker. These alterations to the magnetic field allow an increasing saturation of cosmic rays into our inner solar system. The progression through the Magnum Opus, or the 13 constellation activations in this 12-month cycle, each bring in an alchemical law. We are moving through specific laws of alchemy located in the Ophiuchus constellation activation. This quality of silver-gold frequency is being transmitted to our sun and planetary body for the first time. Through the silver ray dissolving into the golden gate, the returning of the spirit to the center of unity, or the process of inner unification, is activated as a law. This alignment begins a new exposure and is transmitting a new substance which has qualities of both elemental water and elemental ether. This is carried in a mixture within these plasmic silver gold liquid light frequencies, which make it fire water. Fire water is a new spiritual element being created through this alchemical process transmitted to the planetary body and humanity. The river of living waters from the Mother's creatrix, rainbow crystal waters, flow out from the throne of God and unify into the dimensional door of the Golden Gate. The highest emanation of this mysterious elixir is both silver and gold, the chalice of God, which opens the portal of the Golden Gate. The constellation Ophiuchus is known as the Serpent Holder and sits 180 degrees across from the Orion constellation, also known as Osiris. So this means that the sign directly opposite in the sky from Ophiuchus is Orion. Ophiuchus sits in the general direction towards the galactic center of our Milky Way galaxy. The ancients called this circuit path made around the galactic equator the Gate of the Gods, or the Golden Gate. The Orion constellation sits in the opposite direction, which would be considered the anti-galactic center. The ancients called this circuit path the Gate of Man, or the Silver Gate. Ophiuchus and Orion are mirror images of opposing polarity. Together, they represent the ascending path through the Gate of Man meeting at the Gate of the Gods. The many ascension stages we endure to reach our spiritual Magnum Opus are the stages of humanity moving through these sequences of consciousness gateways. We all incarnate as earthly beings that evolve through the procession of equinoxes. This takes us through the consciousness realms, moving through the ecliptic path of the Gate of Man to eventually complete the evolution cycle, which intersects at the galactic center. Once we unify the consciousness experiences through the Gate of Man, intersecting with the galactic equator at Ophiuchus' feet, we are potentially given access to the Golden Gate. This allows us to proceed on the ascension path to become resurrected, eternal spiritual beings, unified with the cosmic Holy Spirit. From our solar system, the galactic center lies visually along a line that passes through the Golden Gate. This is the gate to eternal life, which pours out the universal elixir that opens at the end of precession cycles. The Golden Gate is located on the circuit path, where the two great celestial spheres intersect together that create 4 quadrants. The quadrant is one of 4 circular sectors in the equal division of the planetary sphere. The first great circuit is the path of the sun through the zodiac made in its annual cycle. The other is the circle path made from the center of our Milky Way galaxy called the galactic equator. The intersection point made between the 2 circuits located between Taurus and Gemini constellations is known as the Silver Gate. The intersection point of the 2 circuits between Scorpio and Sagittarius constellations, right under Ophiuchus' right foot, is known as the Golden Gate. Ancient Egypt included both Ophiuchus and Orion in their 14-sign zodiac system. Representations of the Egyptian zodiac at Dendera, which includes the temple of Hathor, show the figures of Gemini as that of a man and a woman holding hands. This is a departure from the current representation of Gemini as same-sex twins. Gemini represents the polarity integration between the male and female, the unification which occurs at the intersection of the Silver Gate and Golden Gate. Gemini represents the future union of spiritual masculine and spiritual feminine, or the herogamic union under the universal laws of the aeonic pairing of Christos, Sophia. This period of time has great potential for all types of synchronistic events, with an emphasis on energetic resurrection and physical healing of the miasmatic past. This is made available through this opening portal or intersection with the Golden Gate. The sacred Decad. This 9th stage of the galactic zodiac law, Ophiuchus, is transmitted to the planet in the combination of divine ether and water or fiery waters, which carry the archetype of the sacred wound healer of humanity's spiritual ascension. This inner activation is the ultimate substance for animating the spirit hidden inside all matter, hidden within the mitochondria of cells that make physical transmutation possible. The cosmic mother principle returns her animating spirit back into the earth body through mitochondrial activation and magnetic shifting. She is reclaiming the elemental body through her watery ethers, which emanate and spiral out from the core of the infinite creatrix. The name given by ancient alchemists as the essential agent in alchemical transformation of elements was the Azoth, known as the Prima Materia, universal cure, and elixir of life. The Azoth was said to embody all medicines. It is the first creation principle that includes all other substances and elements. Azoth is related to the Kabbalist Ein Sof, the infinite substance of divine origin that created all existence. The Klipoth is the negative form shell and imposter spirit, or negative force of the Sephiroth. In its negative form polarity, the Dark Mother is what animated life into the fallen Azazel hierarchies, or Antichrist forces, that were manifested in the underworld realms. As these fallen entities attempted to perform cosmic sacred alchemy, they misused the divine fire water of the Prima Materia. The divine fire water is androgynous and split into the solar fire, and the water became the lunar waters of the astral planes. These 9 divisions of the Magnum Opus of alchemical law meet in Ophiuchus and are 3 times 3 plus the universal Prima Materia or Azoth life force, which equals 10, the sacred Decad of Pythagoras. The Hebrew tetragrammaton, Yahweh, and 10 spheres of emanation in the Tree of Life are based on the sacred Decad or tetractys. This is a triangular figure consisting of 10 points arranged in 4 rows. As a mystical symbol, this was very important to the secret worship of the Pythagoreans, which became the basis of many mystical teachings. Freemasonry and Rosicrucianism have claimed to have evolved out of the Pythagorean Brotherhood. 10 is the all-inclusive structure of the 4-dimensional universe, which also represents maintaining the domination and order contained within the structure. Thus, 10 also represents the matrix of that construct which hypnotizes and keeps one locked in the illusion of the 3rd-dimensional world. The sacred Decad, or tetractys, symbolize the 4 living creatures and the elements that made them through the Prima Materia: fire, air, water, and earth. This also intersects into the 4 quadrants of cardinal directions and represents the divine calculus of the universe. The sacred Decad geometry is held within the Ophiuchus constellation transmission, which represent the organization of dimension and space in the cosmos. The first row represents 0 dimensions as a point. The second row represents 1 dimension, a line of 2 points. The third row represents 2 dimensions, a plane defined by a triangle of 3 points. The fourth row represents 3 dimensions, a tetrahedron defined by 4 points. There are compositions known as the Sacred Decad, which have been confirmed in several literary catalogs of tablets dating back to ancient Sumeria, Egypt. Sumerian artifacts are the basis of all written history believed to have been established, and is the earliest known record of developed human civilization. The Decad contains the narrative of the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, which has influenced modern literature, religions, and culture. All themes from the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh are found in later biblical text stemming from the time of the Anunnaki invasion. The Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, written several centuries after the worldwide flood, contained the first references to the Silver and Golden Gate. Gilgamesh searched for answers about how to obtain eternal life from his ancestor Noah, who resided in the center of the heavens with the gods. The Sumerian zodiac entwines Ophiuchus with the creation tales of the gods Tiamat, Enki, and Marduk, and they were connected to the planetary body of Jupiter. Sumer is one of the ancient civilizations and historical regions that make up modern-day southern Iraq, where the negative aliens invaded the planet. It is very close in proximity to the 10th stargate and the 4th stargate of the planet. This symbolizes the tetractys geometry used by the negative alien agenda to dominate the planet into a closed-loop energy system. Sumerian invasion. When the Sumerian Egypt invasion began, this event unplugged human DNA and scrambled the fire letters and geometric codes in the planetary blueprint. This blocked higher sensory perception and thus blocked multidimensional perception of other timelines and extra-dimensional races. The Stargate takeover in Egypt from the Luciferian rebellion allowed the Anunnaki and negative alien groups to erase the collective human race memories in the astral plane and soul matrix layers. From this painful event, they created the false Ascension Matrix as an enslavement tool for repeated human reincarnation, or the recycling souls. Those with genetic preference, or those under mind control to serve the negative alien agenda on Earth, were given the real story about the Atlantean cataclysm history. For many of their ruling favorites, they also gave them the ability to have higher sensory perception. They gradually infiltrated the ruling monarch classes and bloodlines and collected life force through methods of satanic ritual abuse. They gave the harnessed energy to these classes and bloodlines to maintain them as controllers, to remain in power, with the negative alien agenda program to continue to enslave the asleep, amnesiac humans. The alien machinery used in the invasion distorted the 12-tree grid template created by the Lyran Syrians on the 5th-dimensional Earth. The 12th-dimensional tree grid is a homing device to find and retrieve all lost aspects of the 12-strand DNA, the diamond sun body. It was designed to retrieve soul fragments and mismatched body parts, and to help locate human beings stuck in the Phantom Matrix timelines. At the point of Sumerian invasion, it blocked the 8th portal access into Orion and the 12th portal of the planetary gates. therefore blocking the 8th chakra and 12th chakra and related energy centers in the human body and planetary body. This blocked the life force and natural kundalini flow, blocked the endocrine system glands, the pineal, pituitary, hypothalamus, thyroid, etc. This severely shortened the human lifespan and damaged immunity, creating diseases and other mutations. This was desired by the controllers to shorten lifespans in order to set up human recycling to the astral plane in the 4th dimension. The most current issue facing humanity now is that the negative aliens have rewritten human history from 5,500 years ago at the time of the invasion in Sumeria, Egypt. They instituted a mind control plan for patriarchal domination through archontic deception strategy to perpetuate the enslavement agenda for all Earth humans. DNA unplugged. This Sumerian invasion at the 10th and 4th Stargate is the reference point in our current historical record where the human DNA was unplugged on the Earth. It is where the galactic war memories and our true origins were erased from our memories by the negative alien agenda invading races. DNA and vibratory digression began a gradual descent from the Orion group population coming to the Earth from primarily 208,000 years ago in the Orion Wars. The major DNA unplugging happened, however, when the Sumerian Egypt invasion transpired about 5,500 years ago. Until this point in the timeline, humans retained memories of their galactic history. With the galactic law being transmitted from Ophiuchus and its pole connection to Orion, these memories of Orion wars, invasion history, and DNA unplugging have been surfacing in the planetary body. Many of us are reliving these memories as we consciously participate with our ascension to remember what has happened to us during these timelines. This brings us to the Orion Conflict and the main struggle of humanity attempting polarity integration to heal the original species schism that occurred over 208,000 years ago. We have to remember our history and feel what happened to us in order to end this war game. This allows us to change our future history. Orion Conflict. The main battles in human galactic history were fought in the constellation of Orion, and so these many wars are referred to as the Orion Wars. In our universal time matrix, wars first started over territories in the constellation of Lyra, or what is called the Cradle of Lyra. But soon the Lyran Wars spread to the constellation of Orion, and it became a war between the false king of tyranny ideologies and the ideology of the service to others, which follow the law of one. Essentially, this is the seed of the war over consciousness between the Christ human and the Antichrist or anti-human. The main humanoid races were committed to living in harmony with the law of one and service to others philosophy. The opposing groups were mixtures of humanoids and reptilian races that propagated service to self or anti-human sentiments. The predator mind, waging war for tyrannical control over territory, originated in the constellations of Draco and Orion. The genetic hatred generated from the Orion group digressed into the violent killing and destruction of others, which resulted in the propagation of victim-victimizer mind control programs. This schism resulted in serious damage to the time and space fields and eventually was capitalized on by the negative alien agenda to insert alien machinery. This alien machinery of victim-victimizer was holographically inserted into the timelines to generate the terror of Orion War memories into humanity's collective mind. This became the basis of the mind control and psychotronic warfare used on Earth to keep the war ongoing in the human race. This is the basis of victim-victimizer mind control software and psychotronic warfare used on the planet today to influence these memories in the unconscious mind of human beings. Genetic hatred and the reptilian hybridization with humans has created a planet at war with itself. Without these galactic memories in the conscious mind awareness, many people are mind controlled to play the same archetypal roles out over and over again, destined to repeat them into total self-destruction. One can only stop repeating these roles once they can feel the pain and destruction they cause and have remorse. This Orion conflict has been playing out for eons of time in a most destructive and disturbing manner in order to annihilate their opponents. There were three main factions that formed. These three groups were victimizers or dominators, victims or slaves, resistance or opposers. The dominator-victimizers were the Orion Empire. The Orion Black League were the resistance to the malicious domination of the Orion Group Empire. Yet, many became just like their oppressors as they justified war and killing in the process of the resistance. Some of the leaders of the Orion Black League were the Kumara dragons, who are known as Raymasters. Many of them became fallen, thus enslaved, by the Orion group, and their image falsified in this timeline to lead the New Age as ascended masters. Through trans-time convergence, the override of the Orion invasion timelines is the potential humanity has available now, with the opening of the Golden Gate connecting to crystal kaleidoscope architecture. Four as the universal prototype. The esoteric meaning of the number 4 is that it expresses the idea of divine creation through the presentation of universal prototype. 4 defines the first act of creation, while also defining the law of structure that requires the accurate foundation on which to build in matter. In universal law, if the spiritual foundation is built incorrectly, no thing is eternal. No thing will be permanent. The structure of 4 harmoniously unites opposites and poles, such as spirit and matter, motion and rest. It embodies the principles of universal order, integrity, symmetry, perfect balance, internal and external relationships, completeness, and strength. According to the Pythagorean symbolism in the tetrad, 4 is considered the root of all things and the source of all nature. It is the number of numbers because the sacred Decad or 10 includes 1, 2, 3, and 4 because it is a symbol of the 4 of the first 4 numbers. The tetrad connects them throughout all numbers, elements, and temporary structures, which manifest as recurrent cycles in time. A master builder or mason is quantified by the number 22, which, when broken down, aligns back to the structure of 4. The master builder sees the archetype and brings it down to the earth in some material form. The universal prototype in the law of structure related to the 4 is revealing its truth to us now. That which has been created with falsified archetypes or with deception is being destroyed, while that which holds the sacred and perfect number of the universal law will remain and reveal its truth. To consider the importance of the 4 as the universal prototype in the law of structure, there are many aspects in creation. The plight of Ezekiel. The prophet Ezekiel is viewed as the author of the book of Ezekiel that reveals a sequence of prophecies around the restoration of Israel, God's kingdom, and the third temple. Ezekiel goes into great detail about his encounter with God and the 4 living creatures, or cherubim, with 4 wheels. Recent intelligence about Ezekiel is being shared to give deeper clarity on the impact of the changes transpiring with the 4 living creatures in our planetary network. Apparently, Ezekiel had another birth name and was the master teacher to Pythagoras. As the sacred Decad architecture is being revealed through the Ophiuchus transmission, the being known as Ezekiel has required assistance to help him be freed from enslavement bonds. His original teachings have been vastly distorted for nefarious purposes. Guardian teams have been working in the Middle East, in the terrain of Iraq, Iran, in the 10th Stargate, and at the tomb of Ezekiel. The tomb of Ezekiel is a structure located today in southern Iraq and believed to be the final resting place of Ezekiel. It has been a place of pilgrimage for both Muslims and Jews alike. Ezekiel's higher monadic body has been trapped in the earth, unable to evolve. We viewed a collective chaotic field of human body parts, elementals, creatures, and a monadic man contorting within the tetramorphic field. This entity has been in tremendous pain and suffering from the variety of impaling, crucifixion, and torture he has undergone in a continuing war zone. This collective field is a human monadic man that became consubstantial to elementals in the location of Iraq-Iran in the 10th Stargate. The bodies are mismatched and enmeshed like in a war zone. It is used by negative alien forces. This body is a huge blackened gray field that feeds and is impaled on the Golden Eagle Grid network. This is a fallen elemental and false tetramorphic field structure where a man's body was mingled into corrupted elementals and elements. This machinery has something to do with military, killing, and manifesting war zones in the males on the planet, and transmitting mind control in the Golden Eagle Grid fields that transmit to the planet. There is a network of Islamic alien machinery at the Ezekiel grave in the Middle East, and a heavy infiltration of terrorism, jihad, and hatred attached as mind control. There are Hebrew tribes related to fallen Melchizedek lineage with this creature that was once a human male. Tribes of Manasseh, Joseph, and Benjamin have been highlighted. This is a piece of the station of identity of a man known as Ezekiel that has split off from this body and exists somewhere in the monadic timelines. The books of Ezekiel contained gruesome accounts of the Gog and Magog War. This relates to the Armageddon software heavily implanted in the majority of the population in the region. Ezekiel cannot go anywhere until this field is cleaned up in relationship to collective masculine consciousness, especially that which is connected to the Hebrew lines. Recently, it has been magnified that the bones and graves of prominent people, like Ezekiel, had been robbed by the negative aliens. They use the morphogenetic field of certain key figures that they have picked for religious heroes or other roles that further the Yahweh, Jehovian, false father God religions on the earth. In these cases, people have been mummified or buried in the earth when they should have been fully cremated. This also has relationship to the timeline of Masada massacres and Herod I, to whom Ezekiel gave explicit prophecies many years earlier. Herod was responsible for the construction of Temple Mount and the second temple in Jerusalem. The curse of Yahweh is related to Ezekiel and to the sextant matrix that was used to shorten the human lifespan and kill the body. Bones were collected upon the death of the body to create a more sinister way to trap the human consciousness, thus trapping the consciousness through the dead body's bones that are buried down here in the earth. This has happened to Ezekiel, and he is held in place through his religious prophecy, which is an alien construct in the earth. This is very important in the timeline of body elemental corruption. The sextant matrix is equal to degrading the elementals and to the corruption coded into the mitochondria and DNA as miasms. The covenant with King Solomon and its mercy shield is being sequentially activated to start the changeover from the current infiltrated structure of the mystery schools by reprogramming their corrupted horizontal energetic architecture into spherical systems. This has been called Build the Rod projects in our community. Most all of the Essene, Christos, Templar teachings have been incredibly distorted and twisted into the crucifixion control mechanism of the reptilians. Ezekiel has also been impacted by these crucifixion distortions used in his body and consciousness. Prayers for Ezekiel. If there is resonance to this action, please pray for this collective field of beings and Ezekiel to be healed and returned to freedom. Return to the arms of Holy Mother and Holy Father. We also may want to clear Ezekiel and all of his collective body parts in this location from being used to inflict the Armageddon software via the prophecy of Gog and Magog Wars. If so guided, please find the 12th dimensional purification and calibration to set code for crucifixion implant release and removal on Ezekiel's behalf. Al-Kafil in Iraq, the location of the tomb claimed to be that of the Islamic holy man Dul Kafil, who is believed to be the biblical prophet Ezekiel. We confirm that the being known as Ezekiel and others are there. If so guided, the prayers to end war through the Armageddon software can also be applied to help manifest peace on earth. As we move through the next stages of the Magnum Opus, this may support some of us in connecting the dots in our personal healing or planetary healing gridwork. It is very important to collect pieces of information and make sure we protect them. We are here to witness and bring this information back to humanity. The role here is to remember that we each are cellular memory recorders. As more of us bear witness to information that has been erased from the human race collective memory, we remember this back into current awareness and restore the record for all of humanity. It is a basic human right to have access to knowledge, our real histories, and what and who we are and where we come from. This is our great work on earth, along with the ascension of our consciousness. Through our process, we educate humans and other sentient beings and may invite them to connect with personal sovereignty through the universal law. Self-inquiry. We have a new self that is emerging now. This is the way our spiritual essence transforms the physical body to embody higher and higher levels of energetic congruency and alignment with the God Source. As we come to a close of the current year, this is the time to perform some level of self-inquiry. In the stages of full alertness and awareness, bringing one's attention to the inner feelings of the personal self, the person that is the identity of the I in the current moment. This is another method of self-participation, the ability to focus one's awareness on the self that is manifested as the me right now. The goal is to be continuously aware of the I, which accepts responsibility for all of the activities of the body, emotions, and mind. It may be helpful to ask inwardly these simple questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? Remember, there is no way to do this exercise incorrectly. Deeper self-awareness is helpful when moving through tremendous change and transformation. Let go, feel inside, and follow your intuition along with your breath. You may want to journal your impressions for review at a later time. In the earlier stages of awakening, one may require effort to practice deeper self-inquiry to better develop the connecting relationship within the bodies that access feelings. Later, the self-inquiry process happens all the time naturally without the effort or deeper focus that is needed to practice self-inquiry. Increasing one's self-inquiry skills to access deeper and deeper levels of self-awareness is the key to adapting to change without stress and confusion. During this time, the sense of self may also be reflected in relationships we have with others around us. This is mirrored from our own biological family members, which may require another level of our personal participation. When we have deeper clarity in ourselves, our relationships also become clarified. It is important to be fearless and see the opportunity to interact authentically. Increasing one's skill in compassionate communication and compassionate witnessing is cultivating virtue. Psycho-emotional healing. It is only possible to engage with psycho-emotional healing once we have achieved greater levels of self-awareness, which is the fruit of dedicated self-inquiry. Psycho-emotional is describing any psychological interaction one may have with their inner feelings or expressed emotions. Most people will experience a quality of feeling emotions that are first generated from the quality of their thoughts. The context and value of those thoughts held in the person's belief system will dictate the emotion and behavior. So it is important to note what kind of emotions we feel when we are thinking a certain thought. After we are able to witness the psychological interplay with our emotional relationship to any kind of stimulus, then we begin to see the connections made between our thoughts and feelings. This allows us to gain the next stage of self-awareness, which is to then source the thought and decide what value or context we want to assign to it. This is what underlies our belief systems and is responsible for our inner motivation that shapes our behavior and actions. When we develop and improve our psycho-emotional awareness, we are then capable of making changes to our mental state and unconscious mind. Changes to our mental state impact our behavior, our actions, and our responses to our environment and to every social setting. Now imagine that you are feeling emotions with no sense of their origin, or what thoughts they actually came from. Spontaneously, there are feeling emotions arising, and they overcome your awareness so that you pay attention to them. Sometimes this can feel like a wave of emotion that came out of nowhere and filled your body. These are days when we may wake up feeling sad or heavy, or feeling light and happy with no direct reason. When we are more developed with sensing, we can sense the energy behind words and the feeling emotions of others, such as sensing negative emotions with sharpness, heavy, density, drudgery, broken glass, slime, vomit, or weaponry. Positive emotions may feel buoyant, easy, relaxed, expansive, and harmonious. These are all sensed in the instinctual mind, also known as the pain body. Many times we are sensing the collective emotional body of the earth or its movements and transitions in the ascending cycle. Further still, sometimes we may be receiving a transmission of mind control that is being broadcast into the ELF airwaves. The body will automatically react to these forms of neurological mind control even when there is no thought form present. Once we are able to develop deeper awareness of what we are sensing and where these thoughts and feelings are sourcing from, they are much easier to identify. Once they are identified, we can remove and repair or clear them from impacting us negatively. We are unable to clear negativity or mind control until we can discern what it is and assign its quality to a feeling or energy vibration. Engineering of consent. This is why the memories of humanity have been erased, and why we have been given a false timeline of history from the Sumerian Egyptian invasion. If we have no context for our inner or hidden feelings, no discernment for our thoughts or where they come from, we cannot evolve beyond them. This is the consciousness trap of the mind control on earth. Until we can see it and know what it is, we cannot be free from it. This is happening on earth now, as Orion invasion timelines are intersecting with Ophiuchus, and the ancient memories are being felt in the collective race of humanity. Many humans are feeling the intensity of the cellular change and the inner knowing that something is happening. Most do not have an ascension context or context of our accurate human historical record. If we cannot remember who we are and what happened to us, we cannot heal our psychological and emotional relationships. For our belief systems and who we think we are give us the context that shapes how we interact with the world. To illustrate mind control in humanity is the quote from Edward Bernays, a pioneer in the field of propaganda and the father of public relations. Quote, "The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. In almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind." Unquote. This statement is a sample of the engineering of consent without the person having awareness of what they have given consent to through manipulation. This is a good time to inquire on personal consent and authority, and to remove all that may have been usurped in the past, present, and future. Our suggested exercise. From within my heart, mind, and body, I now request my higher God self to identify any or all of the following for complete and permanent removal from all levels, all areas of my consciousness and being. Please identify, locate, remove, and repair all that reestablishes my full freedom as a sovereign being. Calibrate with a 12-dimensional shield and recite the unity vow. Ask the question of the God Self, do I have mind control scripts loaded that need to be cleared from my body? If yes, continue. Beloved Holy Presence of God, guardian families of Crystal Star, please identify, locate, remove, and repair the following. Terminate mind control programs and their loaded scripts. Terminate all belief systems that stand between my inner truth and my sovereignty. Terminate post-hypnotic commands and terminate post-hypnotic suggestions from every level of my being. Terminate REM deprivation programs from my required sleep patterns to function optimally. Terminate script identifier, terminate script locator, terminate script trigger, and terminate script content from every level of my being. Terminate script time code or duration code from every level of my being. Terminate all karma and karmic contracts or obligations that I have accepted or taken responsibility for or agreed to at any time or for any reason. Please repair all systems and reboot my Diamond Sun body to the Ascension and Aurora Guardian Code sequences. Correct my spine and strengthen my coccyx through my spinal cord leading into my brain. I am God. I am sovereign. I am free. Please clear all related memories and their influences from my central nervous system, brain through the inner levels, in-between levels, and outer space levels. Please cleanse and renew all systems, strengthen or renew my connections to the perfection of my higher God self and to my contract in this and all lifetimes. End your clearing session and thank the Ascension teams as appropriate. Please only take what is useful for your spiritual growth and discard all the rest. Thank you for your courage and bravery to be a true seeker. Until next, stay in the luminosity of your avatar, Christos Sophia heart path. Please be kind to yourself and each other. May you and your loved ones be blessed this holiday and in this coming new year. Until next month, sending our love.